journey, but in 1983 I started doing early childhood teaching, but because of a very fraught relationship, that ended and I went home for a while. Then I come back down and I wanted to get back to study, so I went to the UTS, and I ended up going there in 1990, and I did a couple of undergraduates and a postgraduate, and they asked me to go to the faculties. I don't have a business background, but they wanted to do something in management, particularly community management. So we wrote a degree, and we've been going for over 10 years. But during that time, and prior to that, I've always been involved with women's issues, particularly around violence and abuse, and with children. And so I've always been getting advice, people would seek my advice and information about what they can do to get their organisation going, particularly women, how they can start small businesses and all that. And we had an opportunity to get involved with an ARC. We've got a national ARC going, looking at enterprise. So if people went to Jock Collins' presentation, you would have heard some of the stuff we're doing. So we're interviewing people around the country in both social and private enterprise. And then I started doing an EdD, a doctorate in education, about 10 odd years ago, but I'd had cancer, and then the cancer come back. But Jock been asked me if I'd like to do a PhD. Mum died of cancer just last year, and then all this other stuff. But I felt that, and you used the word yourself, Kevin, serendipitous. It was important because all the time I was thinking, but how do we transform or transcend all the stuff that happens to us? And we get from poverty and violence, and we move and be part of wealth creation, particularly our own wealth creation. And I was looking at particularly women and how they retire. And most women, as we know, don't join the labour force or engage in that till after they have kids and the kids grow up. And so all this stuff been going fresh around my head. And then I thought, well, you know, we can look at models, and particularly theoretical models. I know there are significant or prominent Aboriginal people saying there's too much stuff around it. There really isn't. There's only people like Dennis talking, and people also like Professor Hindle, who talk about this kind of stuff, and there's very few others who talk about entrepreneurship and economic development in that kind of sense, and of course Marcia's work. And anyway, so in the meantime, I thought that, and it took a lot of convincing, because they were saying, Sonya, that's not where we're at. We still haven't got past the healing stuff. But then when you start to buy into that, because, you know, trust and respect's a really big thing. If you want people to engage in things like research, you really can't get people to buy into it if they don't understand or respect what you're doing. And we got to that. I told you a story about the moo cow thing. Sonya, you're selling moo cows. The Grameen Bank, you know, how they have that microfinancing. It wasn't about that, but certainly investigating models which may be microfinancing. But anyway, so here I am, 50 years old, and in my second year of my PhD in business. And it's been a long journey, but it's been a significant journey for me and my family. And it hasn't stopped me doing my other work with women, which I think is equally important, and I'm going to continue to do. And I hope that if there's a lesson from this, is that we can overcome